Now, the Environment Secretary has acknowledged the disappointment of fishing communities over the latest Brexit developments.
Under yesterday's Brexit deal, the UK agreed to only be consulted on future fishing quotas. Well, in an urgent question, Michael Gove said he shares fishermen's frustrations, but assured them that they would still have control over their waters.
The agreement includes an obligation on both sides to act in good faith throughout the implementation period. Any attempts by the EU to operate in a way which would harm the fishing industry would breach that obligation. And of course, these arrangements will only apply to negotiations in December 2019. We're at the table as a full member state for negotiations in December 2018. And critically, in December 2020, we will be negotiating fishing opportunities as a third country and independent coastal state, deciding who can access our waters and on what terms for the first time in over 40 years.
Well, let's talk to Griffin Carpenter, a fish expert from the Economics Foundation now. It's just a delay, isn't it? That's what the fishing industry is being told, that they will get autonomy over the waters in 2 years' time. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, that's the update. And up until this point, we were led to believe that it would be March 2019 that the UK would get control over its waters and fisheries policy. So this does come as a bit of a surprise for the industry, and it looks to them like Brexit has overpromised and under-delivered. So it's a very difficult time, and a lot of tempers are rising in the industry.
What impact do you think this is going to have on the British fishing industry?
Well, if it's a continuation of current trends, then we'll see fish stocks growing as they are under quota management in the EU. Revenues are rising in the industry and profits are rising, but we'll continue to see kind of a concentration that's happening in the fishing industry. In a lot of small-scale fishing communities, you don't see some of these positive economic trends, so they're worried that the status quo isn't good enough.
What difference will new quotas make to the British fishing industry if we get them?
Yeah, so this is the big promise of Brexit, that post-2020 at this point, the UK will be able to declare its sovereign waters and an increase in quota. The problem is that it only works if the EU agrees to a reduction on their side. And we can think about this as a joint bank account and Brexit being a divorce process. And really what you need is both sides to agree. If only £1,000 is what's sustainable to take out each month, you can't have each side saying, well, £700 is fair on my part. So fish stocks are shared, they're going across borders no matter what we do in policy making. So we should use this time in the transition period to agree to a deal where the EU says how much they take for each stock and the UK agrees how much it takes.
How much do you think it would be sensible for that deal to be? Because at the moment you have some countries taking an enormous percentage from joint waters, as much as 70, 80, 90%, and other areas you have countries just taking around 40, 50%. What do you think is the fairest split?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Some countries, the Netherlands, France is a big one, Denmark, they're all very interested in how these stocks are going to be split because for 40 years these shares have been fixed and those were set on historical fishing patterns. So really the history of fishing in the North Sea and the North Atlantic is going to be shaken up. And importantly, the EU is tying how these quota shares are divided and access to to UK waters. They're tying that up with access to markets. So although the UK might want to claim greater shares, there might be a trade-off here. Most fish from the UK is exported, and most of that goes to the EU. So there are going to be some trade-offs that are going to be faced. It's not a straightforward process, and we can already see this with Norway and Iceland.
So essentially what you're saying is they may well say, right, well, you can have 90% fishing rights to your own waters, but we're not going to buy the fish.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly what happened when Greenland left the EU. The only country to do so is eventually they came to an agreement after, of course, multiple years, where Greenland was able to sell its fish products at low tariffs, but the EU kept quotas in Greenland waters and was able to fish there to today.
OK, Griffin Carpenter from the Economics Foundation, thank you.